You know, I was doing Vivienne Westwood in Paris. I did the show when Naomi fell in her shoes, that iconic picture. That's my moment, that's my hairdo. Hi, I'm Danilo. I am a hair artist at The Wall Group, and I'm the OG at The Wall Group. Hair started for me early on when I was in San Francisco. I was modeling and I met several hairdressers that headed up Vidal Sassoon, moving to New York in 1980. Upon arrival, I was hired by a very well-known business in Soho. Through the 80s, I was working and being introduced to artists in New York, such as the B-52s, Diane Brill. And it was in that time that I met Orbe. That was in the late 80s. He said to me, "I'm opening a salon and I want you to do it with me." So I did, and I became his vice president and artistic director. And this was at a time when the industry was doing a big shift, and it was simultaneous with supermodel, super makeup, super hair, super photographer. We all went into the 90s conquering the world of beauty and having a great time. Gwen Stefani and I had an illustrious, celebrated career together, had a lot of fun. 23 years I worked with her, and it was very creative. I worked with No Doubt, and then she became a solo artist and really translated into an icon. It was a big shift in her life. And we went all over the world, and I had an opportunity to do a lot of things from, you know, being in palaces to being in the White House to being on national television, all kinds of international television, covers of magazines, and just a very exciting, creative time. And she was inspirational and was able to create new, strong looks for her and not only take her from No Doubt to a solo artist and that iconic vision that was her and her style, and then on into what I would call more the celebrity, sophisticated, high fashion version of herself. We really attacked the world with, this is gonna be cool as fuck, let's do this. Gaga and I have had several occasions to work together. I have one occasion where I believe it was her first online performance, and I gave her a big human pink bow bouffant as she played at the piano and launched her music to the world. Gaga's telephone video I was so excited to be a part of. It was creative and challenging. They have archival Mugler. I'm losing my shit. I couldn't even let him lay it on a couch. I was so like, that can't go there. And then going into the next day, her iconic shot of her with the Coke cans in her hair. Gaga and I had gotten to a conversation about doing Coke cans. I don't think she was aware at that time that I had done the one with Naomi. And I really felt it was important not to use originals. And she said, let's do diet. All that inspiration comes from my childhood when in the 60s, women would set their hair on orange juice cans. So I just thought, orange juice, Coca-Cola, you know, let's do it. It's the 90s. I had done their ad when they launched Absolute Au Courant. They had brought me in and I designed a hairdo that's the shape of the Absolute bottle silhouette done out of braided Absolute Courant purple hair. It turned out to be their #1 selling ad. Thank you. Very exciting, very cute. I was asked to be a part of a photo shoot with Absolute, and it was Absolute, Gianni Versace, Herb Ritz, and Kate Moss, Naomi Campbell, and we shot it at the Ice Hotel in the Arctic Circle. I started on this project about 2 months before we went. I flew out here and sculpted out of clay and cast 2 wigs, one for Kate, which has an ambiance of Venus blowing in the wind, and the other for Naomi was a bit Medusa, textured hair and spiky. We cast it in silicone to look like ice at 25 below zero. It was that time, and it was so exciting, and it was also before digital and before cell phones and just before all of it. It was just the real deal, and I'm blessed to have had the opportunity to be a part of it. Some of the first wigs I was doing were the B-52s and Diane Brill. These are big hairdos. I was part of that punky edge that was bubbling up and crossing over into a bigger atmosphere. You know, I was doing Vivienne Westwood in Paris. I was doing the men's show. I was doing the women's show. I did the show when Naomi fell in her shoes, that iconic picture. That's my moment, that's my hairdo. My hometown had been overwhelmed by the influx of AIDS. It was killing everybody. It was a war zone, it was traumatic. It really brought up the activist, the volunteer, the creative inspiration to give back and help and do something and make a difference. And that has stuck with me my entire career. One of my bigger projects, probably the biggest project really ultimately, has been Life Ball, which was 26 years of the largest AIDS benefit in the world, which was a huge fashion show that happened every year in May. And it took place in Vienna every year. We're talking 250 to 300 odd people on the runway, and each year we honored a designer and their archive. So we did Mugler, we did Gautier, Austrian Airlines 777. After 26 years, I'm backstage. I'm being introduced to people. Over the 26 years, the monies were donated simply because AIDS was rampant. They had medication that would prevent the transfer of AIDS from pregnant mothers to their newborns. Fast forward, after 26 years, I'm being introduced to this gentleman that just graduated from college who is one of the babies. I just broke down in tears. It's powerful what we can do with being a hairdresser. I met Terry the Mugler at the Love Ball. Very memorable moment. We did all the hair in the men's bathroom at the Roseland. And I'm working with this fucking genius. And he was able to inspire us all to give our best. I met him in the men's bathroom. And that's where we did it all. And it smelled like piss. That rare French perfume of pissoir. And that led to him asking me over to Paris to work on a show. And then that turned into the 90s. And we did all those iconic shows. He changed my life. The Too Funky video was an AIDS benefit. The entire crew for 3 days, we all volunteered and did the work. I was head hair. And we had just come from Mugler, Paris, and doing the runway. So we brought the clothes and brought the looks and got the girls all ready and threw them on the runway. I did Mars Attacks. I did that big Martian hairdo. That was an incredible experience. Lisa Marie asked me to join her and her then boyfriend, the director, Tim Burton. And, you know, great thing about movies, you get a script and you get to really get into the grit and think about who's this person. I worked with Julia Roberts, and I remember I did her hair color for her Academy of Performance. We always wanted it to be a kitchen blonde because it was a character who had no money and had to do her own home hair color. As hairdressers, we always call that kitchen blonde with a little orange. I did Rooney Mara for Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I created the look. Rooney had hair to her waist, an auburn chestnut, and I cut it all off, bleached her eyebrows, and dyed her hair. I called the color Shadow, that greeny brown, dark blackiness. I wanted you to fall in love with her and also to be frightened by her. You just had to stare at her. You couldn't look away. Well, I also designed the hair for Elsa with Disney. That was a fascinating experience because I got brought in to design her hair. Everybody came around to see the debut of this. Well, my wall group experience is extensive. I vice president and art director at Orbe, and there was a day that I just said, I gotta go. And directress behind it all was a woman known as Brooke Wall. A week after I quit, Brooke quit. And from there, we went on to work together. Brooke decided she wanted to start an agency, and I walked with her to Wall Group. And I was the first talent there. Everybody always came to me going, I want to be with Brooke. I want to be with the Wall Group because they treat artists right. 25 years later, look at where she is now. A young new executive came onto the company known as Allie Bird. And Allie I spent years with, and God bless her. God bless her genius, her passions, her insight, and her generosity. So I'm grateful for her and a big chapter that she played in my life and negotiated on my behalf. I have Wall Group to thank for that evolution. Thank you, Allie. Thank you, Brooke. They really established themselves and have maintained a level of professionalism and artistry that is diverse and competitive and successful.